I still remember that dinner, the smell of burnt lasagna clinging to the air, the fluorescent kitchen light flickering above the table, the clinking of silverware as my parents chewed in total silence. It was the kind of silence that feels heavy, like the pause before a storm. I had just come back from another 12-hour shift at the design firm, exhausted but proud. I was 26, finally pulling in enough to pay rent, help with groceries, and maybe, just maybe, start saving for my own place someday. Mom cleared her throat. "Alexis, we need to talk." I looked up, mid-bite, and caught the glance she exchanged with my dad. That look. The one that always meant trouble. Dad set his fork down. "Your brother's moving back home." I nodded, not sure where this was going. "Okay, great. He needs his old room." My fork froze. "You mean my room?" Mom folded her hands, the way she always did when she was pretending to be calm. "You've been staying here long enough. You work, you're doing well, but you know this house isn't yours." It hit me like a slap. I'd been helping with bills since college, cleaning, cooking when Mom was tired. I wasn't freeloading. "So, what are you saying?" Dad leaned back, his voice flat. "Give up the room or move out." For a second, I thought I'd misheard him. The words echoed in my head, louder each time. "Give up the room or move out." I laughed, too loudly. "You're serious?" He didn't even blink. The silence after that was worse than yelling. My chest burned. I could smell the overcooked garlic bread. I wanted to cry, but something inside me hardened instead. I swallowed the lump in my throat, stood up slowly, and said, "Fine. You want me gone? You'll get your wish." Mom's voice trembled, "Don't be dramatic, Alexis." But I was already walking upstairs, every step echoing like a promise. The next morning, I packed. They didn't stop me. Not one apology, not one question. My brother showed up that afternoon, dragging in boxes and smiling like he'd just won something. For the first few weeks, I crashed with a friend from work, Melissa. She lived in a cramped apartment, smelled like coffee and lavender candles, but she listened. When I told her what happened, she just shook her head. "You're better off, Lex. Trust me. Make this your turning point." And I did. I threw myself into work. Late nights, extra projects, weekends. I pitched ideas until my voice cracked. My boss noticed. Within a year, I was promoted. Then again. And again. I started freelancing on the side, taking private design contracts from clients overseas. Sleep became optional. My parents never called. I didn't either. 2 years later, my firm got acquired. My stock options cashed out. The number in my bank account looked unreal, 6 zeros staring back at me. Melissa and I were celebrating at a rooftop bar when she leaned over and said, half joking, "You should buy a house. A big one. Maybe even near your parents, just to rub it in." I laughed, but something electric ran through me. "Near them?" I said slowly. "No. Facing them." It took 3 months of searching, but I found it, a sleek modern build on the same street, directly across from my parents' aging colonial. Floor-to-ceiling windows, marble countertops, and a view of their driveway so perfect it felt faded. The price tag, $1.2 million. I didn't even flinch. Closing day felt surreal. As the agent handed me the keys, I imagined my parents peeking out their curtains, wondering who'd bought the property. I didn't tell them. Not yet. Instead, I waited. For 2 weeks, I furnished the place, every room curated like a magazine spread. I installed soft lighting, hung a massive abstract painting in the foyer, and set up my workspace overlooking the street. From there, I could see their front door perfectly. Then, one crisp Sunday morning, I moved in. It didn't take long. That evening, while I was sipping coffee by the window, I saw Mom outside watering the hydrangeas. She glanced up and froze. Her eyes went wide. The watering can slipped from her hand. Dad came out next, wiping his hands on a rag. He followed her gaze, then stared, his mouth falling open. I smiled, raised my mug, and waved. The next day, I got a knock on the door. Mom stood there, clutching her purse like a shield. "Alexis," she said softly. "This is your house?" "Yep." "You live here?" "Sure do. Moved in yesterday." She looked past me into the house, her eyes darting over the grand staircase, the polished floors, the chandelier glinting above. "How could you afford this?" I shrugged. "Hard work. You should try it sometime." Her face tightened. "That's not fair." Neither was kicking me out. Before she could answer, Dad appeared at the end of the walkway. "So this is your idea of payback?" "Call it whatever you want," I said. "But it's nice, isn't it? You can see it from your kitchen window." I closed the door before he could reply. For weeks, they pretended not to care. But I saw them looking every morning, every night. Curtains shifting. Lights flicking on when I stepped onto my porch. Then came the invitations. First, a casual wave from Mom. Then a text from my brother, "Dad wants to talk. You should come by." I ignored it. But part of me was curious. One evening, I finally walked across the street. The moment I stepped inside, the smell of that same old garlic bread hit me. Nothing had changed, same faded wallpaper, same chipped dinner table. Dad was waiting in the kitchen. "Sit," he said. I stayed standing. He sighed. "Look, we were wrong to push you out. We just thought you'd never leave otherwise. We wanted you to be independent." I almost laughed. "By throwing me out?" Mom's eyes shimmered. "We didn't mean to hurt you. We thought you'd understand." "Understand what?" "That I was replaceable? That my brother's comfort mattered more than mine?" Dad rubbed his temples. "We made a mistake. But now that you're doing well, maybe we can start over." I stared at them for a long time. Then I said quietly, "You know what I remember most from that night? You didn't even ask where I'd go." Mom's lip quivered. "We were angry." "No," I said. "You were selfish." I turned to leave, but before I reached the door, Dad's voice cut through the air. "You think money makes you better than us?" I stopped. My pulse thudded. Slowly, I turned back. "No. But it made me free." And I walked out. Over the next few months, I didn't just live across from them, I thrived. My design firm grew. I hired a small team. Sometimes, clients visited, pulling up in sleek cars. I'd watch from my window as my dad peeked through his blinds. Then one evening, my brother knocked on my door. He looked nervous. "Mom's been upset," he said. "She thinks you hate her." "I don't hate her," I said softly. "But I remember." He shifted awkwardly. "She cries sometimes, watching you through the window." For a moment, guilt pricked me. But then I remembered packing my suitcase in silence, the echo of "give up the room or move out" still raw in my ears. "I didn't buy this house to make her cry," I said finally. "I bought it to remind her what she threw away." He nodded slowly. "You really changed, Alexis." "Yeah," I said. "I had to." Winter came. The snow covered both our lawns, a clean white mirror between us. Sometimes, I'd see Dad outside, shoveling, glancing at my place. One morning, I stepped out too, grabbed my shovel, and cleared not just my driveway but theirs as well. He looked stunned. "Why'd you do that?" he asked. I smiled. "Because I could." It wasn't forgiveness. It was control. And maybe that was my real revenge, not the house, not the money, but the fact that I'd become everything they thought I couldn't be, right in front of them. A few months later, I got a letter, handwritten, shaky pen strokes. It was from Mom. "We're proud of you. We just wish we hadn't needed to lose you to see how strong you were." I read it 3 times. Then I folded it and placed it in a drawer. That night, I sat on my balcony, lights from their kitchen glowing across the street. I could see them sitting together, laughing at something on TV. For the first time, it didn't sting. Melissa called. "Still enjoying your empire?" she teased. I smiled. "Yeah. But maybe I'm done fighting ghosts." "Meaning?" "Meaning, maybe I'll invite them over for dinner." "Seriously?" "Yeah. But I'll cook this time. And I won't burn the lasagna." They came a week later. Mom brought wine, Dad brought awkward small talk. We sat in my glass-walled dining room, the house warm with the scent of basil and garlic, perfectly cooked this time. Halfway through dinner, Dad raised his glass. "To Alexis," he said, eyes shining. "For proving us wrong." I clinked my glass against his, the sound ringing sharp and clean. And in that moment, I realized something: revenge doesn't always need to destroy. Sometimes, the sweetest justice is letting them see you shine so brightly they have to squint to look. Across the street, their old house stood in shadow. Mine glowed. And for the first time, I wasn't angry anymore. I was free.